While the country is still reeling from Wednesday's violence, it broke the world record for COVID-19 daily deaths. Within the past 24 hours, over 4,000 people have died. The US now has more than 360,000 deaths in total. The virus continues to surge in several states, with California taking the brunt. To get the latest, let's cross over to Washington to speak to Ray Suarez. Ray, US hitting COVID death records with 4,000 people, as we just said, in a day. But President Trump seems more focused on Wednesday's riots than the handling of the crisis.
And, 8 of the 10 states with the highest rates of infection are states that supported the president in November. The response to the crisis has been politicized from the very beginning, and it looks like it'll go all the way to the wire. When Joe Biden raises his hand to take the office of president on January 20th, we should be hovering around 400,000 deaths. We've had more than 22 million people infected. And a health crisis is nasty and challenging anytime it happens anywhere in the world. That this one happens to come after this bruising political season makes things only more difficult. The Biden team is making daily announcements about its future policies to handle the COVID virus, yet it can't take control of the government's response yet. Earlier today, the Biden administration in waiting announced that when it takes control on January 20th, it will immediately release all its held stocks of vaccine to try to get the first round jab into as many people as possible, as quickly as possible. The rollout has not gone well in many states in the United States, as stock has been held back in order to manage supply for the second round jab. The Biden team is saying, forget it, let's just get it into as many patients as possible. It's interesting. They are trying to be clear and consistent and calm, something the Trump team was not in the early stages of the pandemic. All that does is heighten the anticipation of the arrival of the new administration, but also load on the pressure for a very quick response from the new government. Joe Biden is going to be under the microscope in those early days as president. Jack?
Now, it's not really a surprise that Donald Trump isn't going to attend the inauguration, but there's lots of other pressures piling on him as well. What can you tell us?
It's been widely reported that the president is saying to confidants that he's afraid of the legal jeopardy he will be in, both for this week's actions in Washington and for things that happened before he was president, for which he's facing investigations in New York City and New York State. On January 20th at noon, his vulnerability increases as the barriers, the legal barriers that kept him protected from prosecution for various crimes fall away. He becomes just like any other American citizen, and he is deathly worried about investigation, prosecution, and potentially imprisonment. Olivia Nuzzi, writing for New York Magazine, said that when the president looked out at TV images of the rioters, he said that it was low class and he didn't like low class things. So his first response was not to tell these people to leave the Capitol and stop what they were doing. It's only in the light of day, in talking to advisors and having his own legal jeopardy explained to him, that he finally went on TV the next day to make the announcement, which you just played a short excerpt of a moment ago, explaining that he would be ready to leave. Now the question is, where will he go? Scotland was one potential arrival point for a president leaving the United States in very unusual circumstances. Nicola Sturgeon has said he wouldn't be welcome. Coming for a golf visit is not essential travel. Jack?
Ray Suarez in Washington, D.C.